When you check into a hotel and you present your ID, do you ever think that you're giving away far more personal information than necessary? The hotel only wants to prove your identity, but now they also know your age, weight, home address, driver's license number, and more. As soon as you hand it over, you lose control. We're often asked to give away too much of our private data. Once it's out of your hands, that information can become susceptible to hacking, the sale of your personal data, or a barrage of unwanted ads. But what if there was an option to verify your personal information without giving away unnecessary, critical, private details? Verifiable credentials, a pillar of Web 5, solves this. There are digital certificates of claim that are easily shared in a private and secure way. They can prove your legal name, age, ownership of an asset, or anything really. Verifiable credentials limit the amount of data you share to only what's required, and they can't be tampered with or faked. Let's reimagine how identification could work. With Web 5, the government issues a verifiable credential that proves your identity and lives in what we call an identity wallet. So now when you check into the hotel, you present the front desk with a verifiable credential and share only what the hotel needs. This establishes that you are who you say you are, without giving away more personal information than you'd like. Verifiable credentials make proving claims easier, more private, and more secure.
Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. You're currently watching tbdevs. And if you don't know what this is, it's basically a weekly Friday live stream where I talk to SSI experts about what they're building and the ecosystem, just so we can all learn more. Before I tap into introducing our guest and chatting with our guest, I'll just let you know a bit of our agenda. Today, we have an hour, or I guess less than an hour now, to go through like introductions, a quiz, a demo, and we'll talk about Q&A. I'll say hi to Angie. What's going on, Angie? And then also for the audience, feel free to type in the chat. One of the questions was, if money wasn't an issue, what would be your dream job? While we wait for more people to tune in, I'll play a couple of videos. One is on what you will usually expect from this live stream. And throughout the stream, you'll get a couple more videos of cool announcements.
In the music industry, why people get overwhelmed with it is this is it. This is the music industry. If you zoom,
that's crazy.
Like this is every participant and every legal contract. And so yes, it's really complex, but if you simplify it into a supply chain as a precursor to why SSI, why decentralized identity is so important, you have a lot of different industry identifiers. This is how you get paid, and your music, where it's used, gets tracked throughout the world.
When we were learning about Web 5, it really showed that there's so many possibilities regarding user safety and privacy that you can do with Web 5, so which is what the main focus we wanted our app to embody.
Especially with the ride-sharing experience, in doing our research, we found we're especially concerned about protecting their payment details, their location. These are really sensitive pieces of information. We're really compelled to help people feel safe and secured in our version of a ride-sharing app.
Suppose a Brazilian banking institution wants to leverage your tools. What would the flow be like? What are the protocols used in order to implement this flow?
A couple of different ways it can work. Sometimes if it's just that direct institution, they'll integrate with us using APIs in the back end. So that institution controls the front end. They can control the wallet, they can control their traditional web app, that then calls Finclusive to do those compliance checks and issue the Finc ID for them. Finclusive can issue the wallet, but typically it's our partners are doing
I think
it.
education is probably what the internet was built for, sharing information, sharing knowledge. Platforms like YouTube, Twitch, etc. have done a fantastic job of connecting people who know a lot of information. However, it's very hard for someone to go onto YouTube and understand that the person that they're learning from is verified, a good educator, knows what they're talking about, 20 years in the business or whatever it is.
All right, y'all. So I see some comments in the chat. Angie said if money was an issue, she would do teaching. Me too. That's what I would do. But I will teach like nothing math related, nothing computer science related. I would teach English. And then I see in the Discord, hey to Prodigy1. I wish I could highlight y'all's comments. Hi Prodigy1, hi to Thomas, hi Rewired, and hi Alex JCBTC. And Thomas had me laughing because he said, if money wasn't an issue, who needs a job? All right. So, Sebastian, hey, you've waited long enough for me to talk to you. I have an icebreaker question for you. And normally do this just to liven up the conversation and keep the guests on their toes. My question to you is, do you have a candy that everyone likes, but you just think is disgusting? Is there any candy in your mind that you're like, everybody really likes this candy, but I think it's a nasty candy? And by the way, you're muted, just so you know. So you can unmute. Oh, you're muted. Let me unmute you. Oh, no, you have to unmute yourself. There you go.
So it's more than one. I think it's all these spicy candies, right? I don't get when candies started being spicy, but I hate them with all my soul.
Okay, I get you on that. I like a lot of weird candies, and I was trying to convince myself that I like those spicy candies, but I've had like this spicy candy in my what's it called, cabinet for like 2 months, so it's clear I don't like it. But that's a good one. I don't like what are those? There's these little the Halloween stuff. I don't know what they're called, but they're like these little candy corn. I hate it. They're so nasty.
I think when it comes to variety and diversity of candies, I think in US you have much more to choose from than in Europe.
Really? Oh,
I think so.
Interesting. So you got people do say y'all's food is more healthier, so that makes sense. And Angie said there'll be no candy corn slander on this stream, and I just said it. Oh, no. Let's move into the technical stuff. I wasted enough time. So, Sebastian, from looking at your LinkedIn, I always do a little bit of research before people come on. You've been in product management for a number of years. Particularly, I noticed that you were in like data cloud strategy, content management solutions. Can you explain what led you to dive into the world of SSI?
Yes, I've been in product, I think, more than 20 years now. So it's clear that is the thing that drives me, right? It's designing things and strategizing, also admiring the work done by others in product. And usually I move from one world to another every 3-4 years because I get bored easily. So once I have learned everything about that product, that market, that industry, then I move to another industry. And that's why my profile is jumping from e-learning to cloud to distribution and now SSI. My jump to SSI was, I would say, the most meaningful or the more ideological one for me. I was born in Argentina, and my parents were raised me during the period of dictatorship, right? So, and there was the way information or how the information was being collected and the people was being prosecuted had a direct impact on members of my family. So identity and privacy were always close to my heart. So when one of the Polygon founders called me and offered me the job, I didn't think about it twice. I mean, it was immediate, quite immediate reaction to this type of job.
Wow, I love that. Like how it connected to you. And it's so interesting when they bring people on this live stream that are from a different country or like than the US or something like that. They really do have like some kind of meaning tied to why they're in this. Whereas maybe some people in the US, Angie was talking to me about this, they might look at like SSI or and stuff like this as like wealth building, but like in outside the US, it's more of like a survival mode or things that you wish was better from like your past. So thanks for sharing that. Oh, wait, what's been the most exciting part of working in this space for you?
Probably the learning. It never ends. I love learning. That is the thing that keeps me in an industry, right? And the reason I'm not even considering to move outside of identity or Web3 is because there is so much more to learn, and it's moving super fast. So I think being here, being in the industry is just very exciting, right? And then talking to some organizations, you get to talk to people that are doing very interesting jobs in the NGO space, or you get to talk to countries, big organizations. They are overthinking identity, and these discussions are also very interesting and enriching for me.
Yeah, I love that. I found the same thing. That it's been a lot of new learning for me. I've been almost in this space for a year now, and I'm like, there's always something new, and I feel like we're really pushing the boundaries in this industry. All right, so really quick before I dive into a product, I'm gonna do a quick break for y'all, just so you know. There's a tbdevs hackathon going on right now, and I'll show you all. It's 15 seconds, just so you know what's gonna happen. All right, so as you saw, you have exactly a month to submit, so you can get 30K, and you have to be a resident of Africa. Okay, so back to you particularly on Privado ID. How will you? This is where you work. How will you describe Privado ID in a few short sentences? Like, what benefit does it bring, and who's your audience there?
Okay. So defining something that is so complex in pure sentences is always a challenge, but let me try it. PrivadoID is all the technical infrastructure to connect verifiers and issuers that want to create and consume verifiable data, right? We provide all the tools for that to happen with the consent of the user, and also in a way that issuers can monetize this verifiable data, right? Our mission is to create an open, permissionless ecosystem of interoperable credentials.
Sorry, was just answering a question in Discord. But that's one of the reasons why I thought Privado ID when you reached out to me was so interesting. Because oftentimes when we look at different SSI companies, they're like, oh, we're gonna make a new DID method or whatever, things that already exist. But you all said, why don't we just like bring the ecosystem together and like you just said, like provide a space for verifiable credential issuers and all that to come together. And I think that's kind of what our industry needs, so that like we can continue to um gain more digital identity adoption, because sometimes I feel like we're kind of all working against each other a little bit because we're all working on similar things. So I do really enjoy that about Privado ID. I have a nosy question. So I know that Privado ID used to be part of Polygon ID, or it used to be Polygon ID. I'm just curious, like what's the evolution from Polygon to Privado? Is it just like a subset of it? Like is it a business unit, or has Polygon ID completely switched to be Privado ID now?
So Privado ID is the result of a spin-off from Polygon. So Polygon years ago 3 years ago, I think, a company called Hermes. And the Hermes team brought two things into Polygon. One was the development of the CKVM, which is one of the main products of Polygon today, but also Polygon ID. Polygon ID was part of Hermes, right? It was acquired in the same operation by Polygon. But when Polygon acquired it, I think we were at the protocol level, where we didn't have a product or something productized that could be easily used by developers and end users. But there was the identity protocol that has been in development since 2017. So very solid protocol with a lot of zero knowledge embedded in it, a lot of amazing features, but not really productized, not really easy to use by developers or users. So during 2.5 years, the team has been building Polygon ID, which is a productized version, right? And then when the product has reached maturity for the market, right, we needed to go bigger, make a lot of noise in the market, attract a lot of partners, right? And that was a conflict with the Polygon vision, right? Polygon is all about scalability, infrastructure, right? So the message was not clear, and we decided that we also wanted to be seen as more agnostic, more blockchain agnostic, and not linked only to the Polygon ecosystem. So we spun off from Polygon, I think 6 weeks now ago.
I didn't know it was 6 weeks ago. That's really early. Well, congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to get into the demo soon. I think you talked about the VC marketplace. Do you want to expand a little bit more on why or like why you think this is important and how it's contributed to the larger developer ecosystem?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the journey starts when you're a developer, you're creating your app or your business, and you need to question or you need to reach a higher level of trust in your issuers and your users, right? So either you're a social network and you want to stop the bots, or you are regulated and you need to check the age of your users, or you want to check for compliance, or any hard fact that you need to check from your users, right? Usually, most developers will look for a provider of age verification, a provider of KYC, a provider of uniqueness, right? And there is a full industry in all of these categories and other categories as well. Maybe you want to check that you have some minimum money on the bank or a minimum balance in your Ethereum address, right? So for all these things, usually developers will look for issuers, for providers, and will have to integrate their SDKs. They will have to integrate to their APIs. Right. So there are two things that we can improve on that scenario. The first one is if an app connects directly to the API of the provider, right? Basically, the provider has a full list of what the user is doing with that credential, right? So the user got the credential, and now the issuer knows. Imagine age verification. You get age verification credential, and then they will have all the places that you are using that credential, right? That's a quite dangerous list, right? So this cold home effect is something that we are all in SSI are trying to avoid, right? That is one thing that I would say any SSI solution would improve with the triangle of trust and the credentials. But also we want to be the single point of connection to a marketplace of issuers, right? So instead of connecting the SDKs or having to decide for one issuer or another, right? There is a number of issuers that we keep integrated in our marketplace. And once you connect our SDKs, you can choose. You can choose to work. Let's say, imagine that you have some certain regulatory requirements on one continent, and then you need to use a KYC provider there, but you need to use another KYC provider on another continent. The integration point is still the same. It's only through PrivadoID, right? And that is the idea of creating an open marketplace of interoperable credentials.
Yeah, no, I really like the idea, and I think other people at TBD would like it as well, because it's like there's so many different, like you just said, so many different places you need to grab from, like to be able to integrate stuff for yourself. So like maybe you do need this centralized space so you can discover them more easily. All right, we're going to show the demo. I just have a quick quiz for the audience. Like I told you already, I do a lot of audience engagement. Y'all, to the audience, this is a quiz we done before, but I believe in a little bit of repetition to remind you how things work. So Feel free to type your answers in the comments. All right, I saw Tanya and Gerald G typing in the comments, so good job, y'all. All right, so let's dive into the demo. Without further ado, we waited long enough. Let's see this VC marketplace, and a couple other things you wanted to show very briefly, and then we can dive into Q&A from the audience and from myself.
Okay. Well, as I say, this is a tool for discoverability that we have published in marketplace.privado.id. Here you can see a number of credentials that you can use in each credential. The providers, right, have many providers that are able to do KYC. If you want to go for humanity and uniqueness, we have also providers for this. All these companies are using our technology to issue credentials, right? They have the issuer node, which is this one here installed, right? As you can see, I mean, we have zoomed it in for the mobile users, but I think it's still it's readable. They can define schemas, they can issue credentials to previous DID, etc. This is not meant to be used through UI. The UI is just for manual testing. There is an API, right? So issuers are supposed to use the API to integrate the issuance into the business flow, right? So once these issuers in this marketplace have issued credentials following a certain schema, right? The credentials can be collected in the wallet. For the schemas, since sometimes it's hard to create your own schemas and JSON LD can be a bit complex, we have also created the schema builder under tools, PrivadoID. We have several tools. We have a schema builder that allows issuers to create their own schemas. You can see here, we can go to the Explorer. There are hundreds of them. People are creating them all day, right? We can see one that is already created, right? It has versioning. You can upload this into IPFS, so it becomes a public good, right? And multiple data. We did this to turn schemas into public goods because we are trying to convince multiple issuers to use the same schema, right? And the only way they're going to use the same schema is if that's a public good that is neutral, nobody can change it, right? And that's why we're putting it on IPFS. So that would be the issuance part, and then the most common journey, because this is our work. Our work is to onboard more issuers, to convince them to join the network, right? But as you will start creating a query, right? So you will select a schema, right? And we'll say, okay, this is a schema. I want selective disclosure, or I want a condition. I want this age to be equal, or I think it's a string, and that's why it's not giving me the greater or lower. So I can create the query here. Maybe I can check for a different schema that has a more. Okay, sorry. These schemas are created by anyone. The tool is free, so you can find whatever you want here. But then when you create the query, okay, equal to true. Yeah. So once you create the query, you're gonna get this JSON, right? That is all you need to present the query to the user. So people don't need to learn anything about CK. They don't need to write circuits. They don't need to do anything at all. They just need to create this text here. Of course, there is some setup in the back end of the verifier because the wallet cannot send the answer directly to the front end because it can be tampered. So there is some back end work that is need to be on the verifier. But everything that relates to creating the query, the CK query, right, the zero knowledge query, that is completely, I would say, automated or no code, right? Now, once the verifier does it, and we have a demo here, right, in Web Wallet demo PrivadoID, we have a demo of proof of liveness, right? Credentials can be verified on-chain or on-chain. So you can send the verification, the result of the verification, you can send it to a web page. That is the most likely case, right? But since we are blockchain native, right, you can also send the zero knowledge proof on-chain and verify credentials directly by smart contracts. That is a unique feature that we have. So this button here basically includes the query that you have seen before, right? So we may ask, you are from this country and you are over 18 and you are not from this region or whatever we want to, right? Here we are only asking for you to prove that you are a human being, right? And the thing is, well, first of all, the authentication happens to my wallet. Have an account. It's created on the fly, right? My first the screen. Okay, this is my first wallet. I don't have to download anything. I don't have to install anything. The user doesn't know that the wallet is being created on the fly, right? And then I see that the application is for a certain type of credential, which I can see, right? It's asking me for human, Boolean, etc. Oh, sorry. So if I don't have the credential, because in this case I don't have it, it's unclaimed, right? I think this is one of the biggest mistakes in most of the SSI solutions right now. The traditional flow of SSI solutions is you have an app and you scan the QR code to collect your credential somewhere in some web page, and then later you go to the verifier and you scan another QR code to present it. These are two steps into different scenarios that need to happen asynchronously. Right, but people don't collect credentials just for the pleasure of having credentials. They collect credentials when they need them, right? So here, the issuers that you have seen in the marketplace, right, are embedded into the wallet, right? So into this web wallet. The verifier, the demo verifier, has decided to work with one of our issues, which is Synapse, right? So the Synapse issuance experience is embedded inside the wallet, right? Well, I won't do it now because it's quite long and it will take me the face scan and everything, right? But all the experience is embedded here. And once this, I cannot use it because the camera is being used by this stream. So I only have one camera, sorry. But once this is done, the wallets will generate a zero knowledge proof on the browser. So the information doesn't go anywhere. That's also quite a unique feature that we have, that we generate zero knowledge proofs in the browser or in the mobile, right? And then the answer that this page would get is the zero knowledge proof that I have meet the requirements expressed in the query. That is the full thing.
We actually have a question that came in. This is a good demo. From Mike Schwartz. Hey, Mike, how you doing? He asked, what AI detection approach does your liveness detection use? And is it more than 90% effective?
Okay. Well, yeah, I think it's important. It's important to say that we are not the issuer here, right? That is so. As you see, the issuer in this case was Synapse, right? But instead of Synapse, it could be Jumio or Fractal, or we are not the ones creating the credential. We are not the source of trust. We are we guarantee the chain of trust between the issuer and the verifier, making sure that things travel through the user, right, and not by API, right? And also providing all the consent and all the zero knowledge proofs to minimize the amount of information that is disclosed, right? And that's why I started with the marketplace, because that question should be relevant for any one of them. And if you don't like the answer they give you, you can just work with another one without changing anything in your integration.
Good answer and good question. I think that was a good question. And I
Yes.
think that makes a lot of sense. Maybe he joined in late, but yeah, like
I can maybe to add something useful to the question. I would recommend Mike to check on NIST. NIST does periodic testing of AI detection and AI estimation providers, and there is a ranking and everything, right? And this is on an ongoing basis every 6 months. So I think NIST is the organization that probably has the best information about it.
When you say NIST, are you talking? I googled it. You're talking about the National Institute of Standards and
Yes.
Technology. Okay.
Yes.
I'll check that out. I'll put the link in the chat. I know Mike is really good at asking hard questions. He runs a live stream as well. Let me try to get this in the chat for people. So yeah, feel free to check that out, nist.gov /artificial intelligence. I'll let you keep going. So sorry about that. Did
Okay.
you have...
No, I would say this is the journey that we expect. So we expect developers to create their queries, first to choose their providers, then knowing the provider and knowing the schema they are using to create the query that they want and implement it like a button like this. They don't need to do anything else. Then for the users, again, our hypothesis is that people don't care about identity wallets until they need them, right? And then once they have used it, they forget them. Right, and that is perfectly fine. We feel that expecting people at this stage, we don't think the market is mature yet for everybody to be super aware of which is their identity wallet. People don't have that in their mind yet. I think with ADAS and all the digital wallets coming in different countries, that may change in the next years. But right now, we are trying to be invisible for the user, or as much invisible as we can.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm jealous that Europe is moving forward with an identity wallet before the US. But I think it's a good start for the rest of the world as well. And like you said, other countries too. I actually have a question, right? Because when you reached out to me, I found the schema builder really cool because I think that's something that TBD has been talking about wanting, because we have something called protocols and they can be a little bit hard to build. It's a JSON object, but there's multiple levels, multiple arrays and everything all nested. So I was like, oh my God, it kind of inspired me to make like kind of what you did, right? So I started, but I actually have a question, and maybe you don't know because you all have been around for 6 weeks or you spun off for just 6 weeks ago. How do you keep that schema builder up to date with the way your API or your SDK changes? Because I'm assuming your SDK will change and maybe there'll be different ways to build the schema. So how do you keep that?
First of all, let me clarify that the spin-off was 6 weeks ago, but the product and the protocol has been in the making since 2017, right? Oh. It's really solid and old. Yeah. The other thing is these schemas are not for our APIs. These schemas are governed. They govern the structure of the credentials issued by the issuers. Okay. So this is the reason why we are trying to standardize this across. The schema builder is somewhere here.
Yeah.
Here, right? The reason why we are providing this is because imagine that you have 10 KYC providers, right? Yeah. And we're trying to reach interoperability. The fact that if you want to reuse credentials, right, you should be able to accept credentials from more than one issuer. Imagine the user has already gone through KYC issuer number 1, right? But you are working with KYC issuer number 2. But if they are compliant and they provide exactly the same, you want to be able to reuse. For that kind of interoperability, both issuers need to use the same schema, right? This is a vocabulary in their credentials. KYC, I would say, is the most complex scenario because there are many other things I need to take into account, but there are very simple things like proof of uniqueness, proof of humanity, proof of age. These are super simple credentials, but they are not reusable because issuers haven't come together to define an industry standard. There is a lot of space for industry standards in credentials, right? For example, we met with 6 different KYC providers. We had a series of workshops to define a standard and schema, and now we have donated to the decentralized identity foundations so they can continue that effort of standardizing that. And we want to do the same for schemas, for age, for uniqueness, right? For the top use cases, we want to create these standards that don't exist yet, but they don't play any role in our APIs.
Okay, thanks for the clarification. Maybe there's some synergy between Privado and TBD, because we're not necessarily an issuer or any type of provider, but we do provide like a standard language for people, financial institutions to communicate through. So like we have something called, or we have types of KYCs called like known customer credential and known business credential and stuff like that. So maybe there's some type of I don't know, synergy somehow. Just putting that out there. All right, I have other questions. I know there's other parts of your tools that you wanted to bring up. And we don't have to like do like a super deep dive since our audience might not be familiar, but maybe just an introduction. One of the tools was that I found on your YouTube was a context-based unique identifier. What exactly is that? And what are like the benefits? And I'm gonna link the demo in the channel for people.
Okay. I do have slides about it, but I think it's better if I talk it through. So let me go back again to the query builder, right? So in the builder, if I choose, let's say, national basic identity schema. Okay, I have this national identifier, right?
Yeah.
So this is a special type of field, right? One of the top use cases for credentials right now is proof of uniqueness, right? And if I say WorldCoin, everybody knows what I'm talking about, right? WorldCoin it's a single use case credential provider. They provide only one credential. That credential says that you are a human being and gives you a unique identifier that you cannot replace or change. I mean, it's attached to your biometric, right? That there are only 2 sources of uniqueness or unique identifiers. One is biometry, and the other is national IDs, right? A number decides put on a governmental database and assigns to you, right? These are the 2 ways in which we solve the problem of uniqueness offline and online. And the problem of uniqueness is very relevant when you're trying to distribute resources in a fairly manner, right? And resources could be everything. It could be money, right? In Web3, we have airdrops, right? That you don't want to give away to bots. But in democracy, also having a single vote and not 1,000 votes is another type of resource that you want to distribute fairly, right? So in many scenarios, you need to make sure that you give something to one person only, right? And then that person cannot come twice or create a different account or have a farm of bots. It's a very common use case, and we will see it more and more now with all these bots, AI, synthetic identities, right? There's going to be a lot of pressure for this specific type of credential. So we're going to need this type of a credential that proves that we are unique. And it's going to be based either on biometry or national IDs. There are no many other alternatives, right? The challenge with these identifiers is that they are very dangerous if you share them, right? If you share your unique identifier, first of all, if you share the same unique identifier across multiple applications, it's very easy to trace your activity, right? Forever. Second, you could be banned forever for certain platforms. Imagine that Google or Apple or any one of them would ban you based on this unique identifier that you cannot replace, you cannot get another one, right? It's a permanent ban for the entire of your life. Third, you cannot clean your reputation. Everything you do from now on is going to be adding up to that reputation on that unique identifier. right? So there is no clean start. There is no going back, right? So the unique identifiers are very necessary, but they are super sensitive when it comes to privacy.
Okay.
So that is the context. And for that reason, we have developed something called context-based unique identifier. Context-based unique identifier is here. If I create my query, right? I say, okay, I want to create a query on this field because this is the source of uniqueness, is an identifier. It could be a biometric hash, right? But I want to say, okay, I'm going to use this version 3, and I want to check proof of uniqueness in the nullifier session ID 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So what this does is it creates a session, a context between the verifier, the application, and the user. And this is like a session ID or a context ID, right?
Okay.
The wallet will receive a request of give me a zero knowledge proof of your uniqueness, right? In the context 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The wallet, our wallet, can generate a very complex zero knowledge proof that includes a lot of things. First of all, it proves that this identifier is created from a valid schema and a valid issuer, right? So yeah, it's coming from your government and it's coming from the schema passport. Second, it proves that the nullified identifier that is sharing with you has been cryptographically derived in a deterministic way from the original national ID, right? And all is that is proven cryptographically. So in essence, what the verifier gets is a fake passport number that is equally valid as a real passport number, in meaning that you cannot generate another one for that verifier. So in the context 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of that verifier, you cannot give them a second. You cannot generate a different identifier for them. It's like you would create a different passport for each interaction that you have.
Interesting. Okay, I didn't even know that proof of uniqueness was like one of the most in demand credentials. That's like I'm learning a lot. And then I heard you mention zero knowledge proof, and I know when we were talking before, you wanted to bring it up. I think I don't want to assume, but because we don't have that concept in like Web 5. So how would you describe that? Like if I was 5 years old or something, what exactly is zero knowledge proof? I think we use it maybe for our DIDs, behind the scenes, or decentralized identifiers, but what exactly is zero knowledge?
We use it for a lot of things. I think I counted, because I did a talk about it, and I counted eight different uses that we do of zero knowledge in our protocol. Zero knowledge is a cryptographical. Sorry?
Is it more like something that you would use on chain rather than off chain? Sorry that I interrupted you.
It's not related to on chain, off chain. It's very useful if you want to do things on chain, but it's a cryptographic technique, right? That allows you to prove a fact without disclosing the data of that fact. So the whole thing, I mean, I think in the video that started this stream, right? The fact that you can prove certain things without disclosing that. I can prove that I'm older than 18 without disclosing my birth date. That is done with a proof, right? There was an excellent explanation for a 5-year-old in Internet of Zero Knowledge Proof, which is there was this big poster full of penguins, right? And I want to prove you that I know that there is a seal in the picture without disclosing where the seal is, right? So the guy basically puts a huge white poster in front of with a small hole, right? And in the hole, you can see the seal, but you don't know where the seal is, right? CK is something like that, right? You can be certain that this is true, but I don't need to share the data with you that made it true.
Okay. Because at first I was like, this sounds like selective disclosure, but it's not exactly selective disclosure.
No, with selective disclosure, we use zero knowledge to be able to do selective disclosure, because the challenge with selective disclosure is that you have a verifier credential that is signed, right, by the issuer. But if you want to extract just one field from that credential, right, how do you link that field to the original credential in a cryptographic manner? Because once you take it out from the signed credential, the signature is no longer valid, right? And you cannot resign it because the issue is not there. So what we do, for example, is we generate a zero knowledge proof that proves that that piece of data is contained in the credential without revealing the full credential.
Interesting. That's cool. All right. And then one last question before I move into like I usually do like a little bit of fun, non-technical questions is Mike is asking, what are the 8 things that that you prove with ZKP?
If you give me some time, maybe I can find. Yeah, I think I did. But it's still with my old Polygon ID identity, right? But these are, I think there's one more that I added later, but I think there are some of them, right? So we do private credentials revocations. We do key rotation. Key rotation is something that most DID methods miss, right? And we are able to do key rotations thanks to CK proof. We do nullifiers for DIDs. This is what is called pairwise DID. So in the same way that with the same concept that I explained for the uniqueness, we use it for DIDs in the way that you present a different DID to each verifier. Trustless verification on chain. So the reason why we can verify things on chain or smart contracts is because we don't send the credentials. We send proofs of the credential. You never want to send a credential on chain because the data is going to stay there forever. This is too difficult to explain right now, but let's say we can give smart contracts their own identity. They can act as trustless issuers, and that's thanks to CK. We have this context-based Unix identifier that I just have described, and then selective disclosure is another one. And I think there was one more that is slipping my mind right now, but there was another.
Wow, you were prepared. So hopefully that answered the question for you, Mike. And then Angie is like basically emphasizing what you were saying. Over 21 true. That's a zero knowledge proof, and then or the ZKP, and then also she's saying, but the selective disclosure is showing a subset of claims from a VC. So that taught me a lot. All right. So sorry to cut you off. Since we're nearing the end, I want to quickly just show a highlight of all the community members or the community monthly spotlight members for July 2024, and then we'll move into some of our like more what I will call like fun non-technical questions, and we'll start wrapping up the stream. All right. Okay, so hope y'all like that. Thank you again to our community for all that you've contributed, including tuning into these streams because it helps us to continue to build better. All right, Sebastian, we're gonna play a little game, and the audience you can play along too using emojis. Basically, I give a random statement. It's not a statement I believe. Sometimes they're like slightly controversial, nothing like work controversial. They're just like things that people might debate on. And then you can say thumbs up or thumbs down to that statement if you agree with it. And if you want to expand more on your thoughts on it, you can let us know. And same for people in the comments. Feel free to put a thumbs up or a thumbs down to these. All right. First, these are so silly. They're not that serious. Oh, and before I jump into that, Mike just added a comment saying, very interesting conversation, lots of hard work by Polygon team and now PrivadoID. I'm glad you thought it was interesting. Awesome.
Thank you.
Right. All right, Sebastian. Thumbs up or thumbs down? The 90s are better than the 2020s. Thumbs up? Yeah.
Yes.
I agree. The 2020s are a mess. All right. Thumbs up or thumbs down? The best products often ignore user requests. Thumbs down. Okay.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm a product manager. Why would I say that?
No, the thing is, people usually don't express their request in a forum or in a discussion, but somehow they are expressing their request.
That's true. Let's see if there's any. Okay, no comment on this. Also, and then the last one is: do you think mint and chocolate? Not do you think mint and chocolate are an elite combo? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Thumbs up. Ooh, good. Some people say it tastes like toothpaste. I kind of like mint and chocolate.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's decent, right? All right, and then now that we reached the end, I don't know if there's any last things you wanted to share. I put a couple of links in the chat, but if there's any other things that you want to share with people before you go that people should check out, or I don't know. I see you sharing something on your screen. Do you want me to share that? Or
No, nothing. Maybe I like the idea of Web 5. I think we are focusing a lot on credentials, all of us, because that's the thing the market needs now. That's the thing the market is ready for now. But I like to think that the goal of self-sovereignty and Web 5 and everyone that is working in the line of self-sovereignty is more than just credentials. Right, credentials is what people need today. It's a real use case that we can implement and we can get the thing rolling, right? But I'm very interested in this idea of user-centric apps where all the information of the app is not in the app but is traveling with you, right? Today I had to clean up my YouTube from 200 subscriptions that my children have been added over the years, right? So I had the craziest subscriptions to all kind of children channels, right? And I had to clean them up. And I was deleting all that because I don't want them to be my account. But at the same time, I'm thinking, but this is part of our story, right? This is the things that they used to watch when they were like 3, 4, 5. And I thought, why is this information belonging to YouTube, right? Why is YouTube keeping the list of the things that I liked in the past, the things that make my taste, right? That thing should travel with me. And then if I decide I don't want to be longer in YouTube and I want to go to Vimeo or to some other platform, I should be able to take all that things with me, right? And it shouldn't be like a second class feature like, take out, export everything to a CSV file and find your way, right? It should be really part of my identity, right? So I'm very excited by all the progress of digital IDs, national IDs, credentials. That is the thing that will keep us busy for the next years. But I'm really working in this because I believe that we can drive a more user-centric future.
Love that. I think what you just said will make a great clip for our YouTube. But yeah, thank you. I'm glad that you're interested in that aspect of Web 5 as well, the decentralized web nodes. We do have a heavy focus on verifiable credentials, especially around the financial sector of it. But the decentralized web nodes is one of the things that's most appealing to me as well. Because I would love to keep my data private and be able to take it with me and it to be of a more convenience for me. So thanks for sharing that. That's all I have for today. And I thought this was a really great live stream. Thank you so much to you, Sebastian, for sharing your knowledge and just your thoughts and your excitement, especially since it's like 7 o'clock for you right now. And then also thank you to the audience as well. Thanks for your great questions and your comments. I hope to see you next Friday. And at the same time, 12 p.m. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Have a good day.
We announced it. tbdevs 1.0 SDK is now out.
tbdevs is an open protocol that makes moving value around the world much more efficient and streamlined. We're solving this problem with tbdevs by building a standard open source protocol that anyone can use for free and plug into.
We're super excited to have developers be able to start looking at this technology and start implementing it. We've put together a new financial protocol that we believe can fundamentally revolutionize the way that we think about transmitting value around the world.